Hey, what's up, friend? This is Alex, and today I want to address one question you might have if you just started composing music, or if you've been watching my videos for a long time and now you decided to actually compose music yourself. Chances are, if you are in those shoes, that you're able to write intros, you're able to write basic musical ideas, but you never know where to go from there. After writing your intro, you don't know how to continue it in a way that sounds relevant and sounds awesome. If you often hit that roadblock, then this video and technique will be for you. This technique also explains a bit of how I go about developing my ear, because as you guys know, I compose music by ear without knowing music theory. Now, the cool thing about this technique is that it's not rocket science. It's pretty damn simple. But the bad news is that it's not fun, because this technique is mostly about studying other people's music. And now I said I compose music by ear and I don't know music theory myself, but that doesn't mean that I didn't study. The fact that I'm self-taught doesn't mean I didn't study. It means I studied in my own way. Now, this exercise, I learned it during a private lesson that I had with one of the owners of Evident back in the day. My friend Arne Anderson taught me this technique because I myself had the same problem. I wrote musical ideas and I couldn't translate them into full ideas. Now, that's normal. To understand how to face an obstacle, we have to understand why that obstacle exists. And the reason why it exists is that despite the fact that humans are able to come up with melodies on their own, usually, naturally, everyone can sing a melody, or people can also come with chord progressions very easily. Structurizing melodies and chord progressions on the span of 2 or 3 minutes of musical ideas, that's something that is not so natural to us. That's a skill, and that's why composers are paid. We're paid to be able to architect music. So that involves practicality and skill and study. Let's see how you can develop that very easily on your own, studying other people's music. So what I have here is my track Verge to Infinity. We're going to use this track as an example for the exercise. And the exercise is nothing other than doing this table here. As you see, it's split in particular amount of rows and columns. What I did is I created a table, and first thing you want to do is you pick your song you want to analyze. Pick a song you want to uncover the secrets of. The first song I picked for this exercise was Time by Hans Zimmer. So what you do is you listen to the song and you split it in different parts, depending on how you understand the structure to be. In my song, this is the intro, this is the bridge, and this is the build-up, and this is the climax, and this is the stinger, and this is the outro, if you will. So I split it in 6 parts, right? So you do that with the song you choose. So we have 6 sections. What I did is for each section, I created a column. So intro, build-up, bridge, climax, stinger. I forgot one column here. This is outro. So you do that on your table. The other thing you want is to have one row for each of these things. So one row is the sections. One other row is what instruments are playing. The third row is what is happening, or what the instruments are doing. Fourth row is how what is happening makes you feel. And the fifth row is the energy level. So what we're going to do now, we have our table laid out. We need to fill it. That's the exercise. And to fill the table, you need to do one simple thing. You go, you select your intro, and you listen to it. And you ask yourself, okay, what instruments are playing? Well, we have piano, pads, regular booms. And the idea is that you listen to this part over and over, trying to figure out as much as possible every single detail. Try to figure out every single instrument, So, percussion, brass, solo cello. Now I can tell straight away what instruments are playing because this is my song, right? So I know exactly what he's playing. But if it's someone else's song, you really need to listen to it 30 times over to really notice as many instruments as possible. So we have that, and as you listen, you just type. So we type the instruments that are playing. Then we're going to type what's happening, because it's one thing to know what instruments are playing. That's another thing to know what's happening. So we can say, well, the track starts simple, repeated, mono, piano, notes of reverb, accompanied by a Blade Runner-ish pad, yada, yada, yada. So you write exactly what is happening in the whole intro, right? You take note of everything. Then you write, how does that make you feel? So you keep on listening, and you ask yourself, how do I feel right now? And we'll say, well, in the beginning, this song made me feel like, I felt in a huge atmosphere, like I was drifting through space. And then, I don't know, you feel like, I feel melancholic, lost, sad, cold, whatever. You type whatever, all the ways this makes you feel. And you can say, in the last bit, I felt a bit of hope coming back. I don't know, like you type every single thing that comes to mind. Even if it feels a bit like ethereal, it doesn't really make entirely sense, that's good. Because music is about feelings, right? It's about emotions. It's not entirely rational. And what you want to do is to take note of what is happening, what instruments are playing, and how that makes you feel, so you can understand what combination of instruments and what, like, combination of articulation, whatever, creates what impact and what effect. And then in the end, you write energy level. So I would say that the track here starts at very low energy and ends up in mid-range energy. So low energy to mid-range energy. Now, I did that for the intro, and to do the same thing for the bridge, do the same thing for the build-up, for the climax, stinger, and outro. So at the end of this exercise, what you're gonna have pretty much is this table full of, notes of how that song, that arrangement was written. If you want to take this up a notch, you can even take note of which chord progression is playing in each bit, or which chords are playing in each bit. In this way, at the end of this exercise, you will have a map, very defined map that you can follow to write your own music. Because say you did this exercise with Hans Zimmer Time, and you want to write something that sounds similar to Time, you can take this map and follow it, and follow the same structure, use the same instruments in the way that he uses them. Try to replicate what is happening and how does that make you feel, but change the melody and the chords. That way, you will have something that sounds like Hans Zimmer Time, but in a completely different context. That is not a ripoff. That is being inspired by other people's music. Now, the more expert you become, the less you will want to really sound similar to others. Like, the more you write music, the more you will want to, hopefully, write music that sounds original. So maybe this idea of following other people's music make you feel like, that's cheap, I'm more original. Well, in the beginning, when you're just starting to compose music, it's like learning to go on a bike. You need your third wheel in the beginning. Otherwise, you're gonna fall and it's gonna be tough. So there's nothing wrong about being heavily inspired by other composers. And just know that you will become more and more original as time goes, but there's nothing wrong with relying on others or trying to walk on the shoulders of giants. It's actually stupid to fall and stumble and laugh at the people who are actually elevating themselves by taking inspiration from others. So don't be that guy. Another great way in which you can use this table is to do it backwards, which means start with your own idea in mind and define, even before you start to write one single note, define the structure of your song and structurize the instrumentation, what is happening and everything, starting with a clear idea in mind. Because that is also what can prevent you from getting stuck. People get stuck because sometimes they start with a generic idea like, hey, I'm gonna sit down and write something that sounds epic or that sounds good. Well, that's too generic, it doesn't have any sense of direction. Compared to, hey, I'm gonna sit down now, I'm gonna write a song that makes me feel like I'm lost in space and makes me feel like I miss my family and all my relatives I left on planet Earth, and in front of this infinite vastity, I feel very small. That's a very specific thing you want to represent, and that's the idea behind Verge to Infinity. And if you start with something like that, that gives you an insane sense of direction, and you can go from there and write a table based on that idea. And then after you wrote your table, then you can start writing actual notes and compose the song, but still use the table as an idea. So that's an alternative way in which you can do it. So that would be like filling in the table with all the details that you imagine in your head first and composing later on. Also, this is not the end-all be-all to do this, right? There's other ways to analyze other people's music. For example, if you can read sheet music, you can just get sheet music of your favorite compositions and just study it there. It's laid down for you and you don't need to dissect it yourself. So you might be able to learn music without relying on your ear so much. Another thing you can do, if you cannot read sheet music, you can try and get access to the stems of the songs from people you like. So for example, I always stem my songs, and the stems are these files, you know, all the instrument wave files. And you can import this in your DAW and you can analyze the songs on your own because you have the wave file of every single instrument and you can go and listen to what the instrument is doing. I also provide the MIDI files of my track if you're interested. And these are available for every single song I compose and publish on YouTube, on my Patreon channel for those who support me. So that's another thing you can do to analyze other people's music. But the idea is that to become great, you have to study the greats. That's just how it works. And if you take the time to do that, that's not fun. It's not fun. And sometimes it's also demotivating. But that's pressure, that's stress. That's how you build your muscles through stress and training. And your ear and your musical talent is the same. And if you're willing to put in the work, to do what's not fun, but it's needed, then you're gonna kick your competition's ass and you're gonna grow so damn fast to the point that everyone is gonna ask you, dude, how the hell were you able to become so good in such a little time? And that's what happened to me. One thing people don't understand is that there's this, belief now that you have to only write original music and that you have to be genius from day one. You see me guys making loads of covers, studying like Bloodborne's music or Final Fantasy or Hans Zimmer and making tutorials based on what I learned. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that I'm the one teaching you these things because I have the guts to go and analyze Bloodborne's music. I have the humility to say, I don't know shit. I need to study from the people who do know shit. So that's why I write loads of covers. People are short-sighted and they tell me, hey, Alex, you should write more originals. Writing covers, that's cheap. No. If you write originals, that's the sign you're a capable composer. Well, I just published Verge to Infinity, which is an original, and it got an insane amount of love on Epic Music World in less than 24 hours. That shows I can write my originals. My entire career as a composer came, I had a career years before I started making YouTube videos. And that career was based in original music. I wrote loads of original music, but when I started my YouTube channel, I asked myself, hey, how can I learn even more about orchestral music? That's where I started to delve into other people's work and I write in covers, which is an amazing exercise to learn how to compose music. And I learned so much you guys will never understand. You will never understand the amount of things I learned thanks to rewriting Final Fantasy music. So that's an exercise I highly, highly recommend you to do. Do the table, rewrite the songs you analyze. That's gonna lead you to internalize all the things that you notice as details in other people's songs. And as a last thing, other than this table exercise and rewriting other people's music, my last tip for you is listen to music you like, but also listen to music you don't like. And when you listen to music you don't like, try to figure out why you don't like it. Because that, again, is an obstacle. Maybe there are songs that sound boring to you. Well, try to figure out why they sound boring to you so that when you compose your own music, and you end up writing something that maybe sounds boring to you, you will have a better understanding of why it sounds boring and you will be able to cross that obstacle way more easily. Because again, the way to go over an obstacle, the first step you need to do is to understand why that obstacle is there. So if you really are able to understand what makes the difference between bad music and good music for you personally, then you will be able to write more good music or music that sounds awesome to you. So again, be willing to study other people's music. Be humble enough to understand that you don't know shit. I don't know shit myself. So if you feel like I'm a great composer, well, I feel like I don't know shit at all. So put that into perspective. And third, try to listen to music that you don't like and figure out why you don't like that music. But that's it for this exercise. Again, this exercise was explained to me by one of the founders of Evident, who, by the way, is the same guy who wrote the course Cinematic Music from Idea to Finished Recording. So if you like this exercise, in that course you're going to find way more tutorials and videos and explanations that go deep from Arne Anderson. And if you're interested, you can get the course in the description of this video down below. But that's all for this video. I hope it helped you out. If you have questions, let me know as usual in the comments and I'll do my best to reply them. But that's all for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.